Overall, I was in labor for 24 hours. Yeah. Hi, this is part 1 of 2 of our birth story in honor of Saoirse's birthday, which is just like 2 weeks away. So I was due with her on October 20th of 2022, and I went into labor on October 20th, 2022. I woke up at about 7:30 or so that morning because I needed to get ready for work. My parents had come into town. They had gotten in a couple days prior. We had all been going around the family and doing the guesses of what day we thought she was going to show up. October 13th was a Friday last year. I wanted it to be October 13th. My girl waited until her due date, which was also really cool because it's only, I think, a 4% chance of babies being born on their due date. So in the morning when I woke up, I had what I thought was a cramp, but I had been having Braxton Hicks contractions for a while. She would beg baby. So I woke up at 7:30. I had some cramping, thought maybe it was Braxton Hicks, thought maybe I was making it up. I got myself ready for work. I went downstairs. I talked to my mom. At that point, the contractions were getting a little stronger, just a little stronger. I looked at my mom. What does labor feel like? And she said, well, early labor sort of feels like period cramps. What are you having? And I said, I think period cramps, but honestly, I'm not sure. It's probably nothing. I feel like I'm making it up. It felt so fake to say it out loud that I might be in labor that I thought that I was making it up. So I got ready and I went to work. I had my hospital bag packed. Let me know in the comments if you want to know what I put in my hospital bag, because I can tell you what was useful and what we didn't even touch. I had my hospital bag packed for, I don't know, a week or so at that point, and I think they recommend that you put it together at about 37 weeks, 38 weeks. And I was getting ready to leave, and my mom was like, you know what? You should grab your bag just in case. I don't think you're coming home today. And I was like, I'm coming home. I will see you for dinner. So we said goodbye, and I went to work. So I inadvertently worked the whole day in labor, which is something that they actually recommend you doing other things and distracting yourself, because otherwise, if you're just waiting the whole time to transition into active labor, you're just going to be waiting for potentially a really long time. Overall, I was in labor for 24 hours. Yeah, I was a legal assistant at the time, and so I just did my day. As the afternoon progressed, though, it got to the point where I was texting a couple people like, I think the baby's coming. My job had been on alert, obviously, and I had worked right up until I went into labor because I wasn't going to preemptively take my maternity leave and then potentially run out of maternity leave before she even got here. The woman who was like on call to cover for me the next day if I wasn't gonna come back, because it was a Thursday, she was gonna come in and cover for me on Friday. And so I did text her and I was like, hey, Melanie, just in case, I think this is what's going on. There's a good chance that I won't be able to do this tomorrow. And she said, okay, great to know, good luck. By the end of the day, by the end of my workday, around 4:30, so like I said, everything started at 7:30. By 4:30 in the afternoon, I had been trying to time my contractions on a calculator. One of the things that I did for work was I would answer phone calls, and so by the end of the day, when I was getting ready to wrap up and be done, and I remember the last guy, he was asking me some questions about his bankruptcy case, and I wasn't focusing. I was just trying to breathe through a contraction. And when he was done, I was like, okay, yep, call us back if you need anything else tomorrow, please. Thanks. So Ed had worked the night before. He had come home that morning. I texted my mom that I probably wasn't going to be coming back. She said that she would wait until Ed woke up and she would tell him when he woke up in the afternoon around 1:30. And then so by 4:30, I had also texted him and I was like, hey, I'm pretty sure I'm in labor. I think we're gonna have a baby today. And he was like, okay, we're doing this. And so he was gonna come pick me up. I walked back to our parking garage. I go and I get my hospital bag. I wait on the sidewalk for him. He pulls up, I get in, and is driving me to the hospital. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't think it's real, maybe it's fake. It wasn't fake. But so we get to the hospital. I had picked this one out. Ladies, do your hospital research. You can give birth wherever you want to give birth. So we show up, we get to the, I'm walking across the parking lot and I'm doing one of these in the crosswalk, waiting for the contraction to pass, And I'm still thinking that they're gonna send me home, tell me that I need to wait it out a little longer or something, and Ed and I are gonna go get like a smoothie, because right now food doesn't sound great. The last thing I had eaten was a protein granola bar at like noon. We get to the registration desk and they're like, "Hi, how can we help you?" And I'm like, I think I'm in labor. They're like, "Okay, well, you know, we got to get you checked in first. Like, here's some paperwork to give us your cards, fill out all the paperwork." And I'm breathing through the contraction and I'm filling out the paperwork, and it's fine. It's fine. So they take me back to a room where they need to do an assessment just to make sure that it's actually happening, that it's real labor, that it's not prodromal labor or anything like that. And so you're in this room, you got these big strappy bands, they're very tight, and your belly is also going like this. And I'm not gonna lie, it's not the most comfortable thing, but everything gets a lot more uncomfortable. So in hindsight, it wasn't that bad. So I'm sitting on the bed and they put the strappy bands on, they're monitoring it. Labor and delivery nurse, she was very sweet. She was like, "Oh, well, are you having a contraction? Because that says you are." And I'm like, "Yeah, I think that's what I feel like." And so eventually she goes and she's like, "Okay, we're gonna do a cervical check." So they do a cervical check and she's like, "Oh, you're 5.5 centimeters dilated." And I was like, "Oh, okay, fine. So yeah, I'm supposed to be here." She's like, "Yeah, you're supposed to be here." Doctor comes in and he asks me a bunch of questions and I have to fill out more paperwork. And it's getting to the point where I have to stop and like try and concentrate before I can answer the question. He's like, "That's labor." And I get admitted. Spoiler alert, I get an epidural. But I wanted to go naturally as long as I could, if not the whole time. However you birth is birth. All of it is miraculous. You are bringing life into this world. However it gets here in a way that is safe for you and the baby is all that matters. And they gave me the option to either stay in my clothes or put the hospital gown on. Put the hospital gown on. Labor is really messy. So I'm walking around and it's not long before walking and trying to do the partner sway is not cutting it. And I go over to the bed and I sort of like lay down, or I ease, right? And I'm trying to labor that way for a little while. And it all progresses really fast. Nurse comes in every once in a while. "Hey mama, how you doing?" "Hi mama." We got to the hospital at about 5, maybe quarter after 5. I had labored on my own, obviously, all day, and then at the hospital until I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10 or 11. The pain was insurmountable. And I was trying all the tricks. I was trying to do the breathing, I was trying to do the concentrating, I was trying to do the relaxing, I was trying to do the comb. So the nurse had Ed start timing the contractions just to see how quickly they were happening, and I would get them literally like 45 seconds after each other. I started to get to the point where I never got a break. He noticed a pattern where if I did get a break, about a minute or so, if I got a minute, the next one was going to be really big. I had about a minute or a minute and a half in between a contraction, and Ed was like, "All right, you need to prepare yourself because this one is going to be huge." And then my water broke. It was so gross. The nurse comes back in and she's great. She's like, "Okay, let's get you cleaned up, no big deal." So they do another check on me and I'm 9 centimeters. I labored naturally to 9 centimeters all day, inadvertently bearing down, and that wasn't good because my cervix hadn't thinned out enough for that to be helpful. Like I was essentially like trying to push before I could push. My cervix wasn't thin enough. I was at risk for like, you know, tearing something, everything swelling, bad stuff. That's when they suggested the epidural. "We want to give you a break and we want to give your baby a break." And I said, "Yes, okay, absolutely." You know, she puts the epidural in. And they're like, "Okay, it's gonna take a second, like it's gonna take a little bit. We're gonna move you around enough so that we can try and make sure that the, I guess anesthetics go on both sides." Because fun fact about epidurals is that they can not work, they can work halfway, they can work most of the way where they give you like a hot spot, or they work completely. And it's magic. Like you're so relaxed, everything's okay. You feel the pressure still almost, like right in my ribs, I could still feel the pressure of when the contractions were happening. But oh my God, it was amazing. It was absolutely just astounding. So the nurse advised us to like get some rest. I'm the nurse. Hey mama, how you doing? Hi mama. Hi mama, how are you? How you doing? So there was no rest to be had. Every, I don't know, 45 minutes to be checked on, which is fine. They're just doing their job, but don't tell me that I'm gonna get to sleep and then I don't get to sleep. So at one point, I think it's at about 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and she comes in for a check, and she wants to know if there's anything she can get me, and I'm not allowed to eat food per this hospital's regulation. Not every hospital is like that. Some allow you to eat food, some don't. This one didn't. And so I got to have Jello. If you know anything about me, I don't like Jello. I think it's gross. Gelatin is nasty. But at that point, like I had said, my granola bar from 12:30 was long gone. And the only other thing that I had eaten was some goldfish that they had given me when I was in that room getting evaluated as to whether or not I would be admitted. So living on a protein granola bar and goldfish was not enough, and so I got to have some orange Jello. It was the best Jello I'd ever had. I was so hungry and I was so tired. About 2:30, I think, she came in, she did a check. I was fully dilated, I was fully effaced, everything was ready to go. And what they recommended was taking me off my epidural to get ready to push. Like and follow for part 2.